So welcome to the Gentle class. This week we are focusing on sort of the ebb and the flow, the light and the dark, and really creating a space where we can hold all of that. So life is full of ups and downs, as we are well aware this year, of course. And the idea is to hold space for all of that, right? So when we only want the good and sort of push away what we think is bad or we don't want, we create this imbalance in ourselves. And um, when we are able to open and embrace all of that, we actually come back to balance more quickly. So when we embrace the dark with the light, the ebb with the flow, the inhale with the exhale, the sad with the happy, all of that, when we can kind of be able to pendulate or like a pendulum go between those things, we don't tend to get so stuck in one or the other. So we find our way more easily back to balance. So we're going to work today on really feeling the expansion and the contraction of the breath, doing lots of work that helps us to really feel that openness that feels so good, and then that contraction where we can really relax and drop into it. We're going to start lying down today, so you can go ahead and just realize my microphone's behind me. I hope you can hear me okay. That you can get yourselves comfortable lying on your back, and we'll start there. So coming down to the ground, just take a moment to get comfortable. Start with your knees bent, feet on the floor, knees pointing at the ceiling. You can let your hands come down alongside your body or rest them on your body wherever you're comfortable. So we'll take a moment to check in. And so we've been working with feeling sensation in the body, working with the breath last week, tuning into the mind, and this week also tuning into the emotional body. But we'll start with the physical body. So take a moment to notice what you feel in your body. And remember that if you feel numb or you don't feel much at all, just notice anything that's available to you. Maybe it's the pressure of your body on the ground, maybe the temperature of your body. If your hands are resting on your body, you might feel the pressure there. You might feel tingling or numb in areas of your body. There may be discomfort that you're aware of as well. And so just like not getting stuck in only wanting the positives, we also can get stuck in the negative and focus on what we don't want. So really encourage, if you find pain or discomfort in your body, to notice it, to acknowledge it, and then let your attention go somewhere where it feels good in your body, where it feels relaxed or comfortable, or at least neutral, not painful. And then see if you can start to tune into the rhythm of your breath. If your hands are on your body, you might even feel that physical movement. Breathing in, breathing out, letting the breath come, not forcing it, straining in any way. So when we try to hold on to whatever it is that we think is best, it's like trying to hold on to the breath. We can't just inhale because we enjoy the feeling of inhaling. We always need to exhale. We always come back to balance. So accepting that life ebbs and flows, and if we can let ourselves flow with that aspect of life, we do come back to balance more easily, more quickly. And start to tune into your mind. Is your mind a busy place? Is it occupied with sort of being drawn to one thought, or does it move around from thought to thought? And just like our bodies and breath, there's a kind of ebb and flow with our thoughts. So sometimes your mind will be busy, and sometimes your mind will be more calm and relaxed. And telling your brain to stop thinking is totally counterproductive. If the brain does its job by thinking, and it's either very contracted and lots of thoughts, not much space between them, or the thoughts have a little more space between them. Let's also now check in with the emotions. So what mood are you bringing to the class today? Maybe something that happened before is still with you and you feel some residue, so notice that. And emotions are like sensations. They come and they go. When we get either to the point where we're trying to push an emotion away or trying to hold on to something we enjoy feeling, we create this kind of barrier to our ebb and flow. So if we are present with our emotions, we allow them to flow through, they have a lifespan, they kind of come and go. So notice what's present, if anything, right now for you. And then we'll begin some movement, and our focus is really on that expanding the container, contracting the container, and feeling that natural ebb and flow that happens with the breath, and we can translate that to every aspect of life. So I'm going to start with the arms down at your sides, and we'll slowly raise the arms up, and find a comfortable position to stop overhead. So your body, your shoulders might say stop, halfway or 3/4 of the way. Your hands might come to the ground. You might need to bend your elbows and move them more to the sides, and then you'll bring them down. So you're just trying to find where is your comfortable limit overhead and not pushing past that as you raise and lower your arms a few times. And you'll probably notice that your spine has some movement as you move the arms. So just let the spine move naturally. You can breathe in as you lift the arms to really enhance that feeling of expansion. Exhale as you lower. And then next time the arms are coming down, bring one knee into the chest. A little draw in with that knee. And then bring that foot to the floor, arms up, and other side. Exhaling, knee comes in, giving a little squeeze, contracting. Inhale, expanding, foot down, arms up. Exhale, alternating, knees coming in. Contracting with the exhale, expanding with the inhale. Allowing yourself to really feel that expansion and contraction. And the contraction isn't that you're doing anything. You're not squeezing muscles to contract. It happens naturally. Right? When we breathe, it's like an accordion opening and closing. So there's that natural, I'm talking and forgetting what I'm doing here, that natural movement of your rib cage. Let's bring one knee in, doesn't matter which. Hold there for a few breaths. If it's more comfortable, hold behind your knee rather than on top of the knee. And then let's move the leg toward the ceiling, foot up, and bending the knee again. So we'll bend and straighten the leg. And you don't have to come fully straight. If it feels like a strain to hold your leg, maybe your arms aren't quite long enough or your leg is a little further away from your body, just let go with your hands and do this movement, warming up, stretching the hamstrings at the back of the thigh, strengthening the quadriceps as you straighten the leg in front. Feeling your leg wake up. And then you can leave the leg in the air again. You're holding on or not, as is comfortable for you. Circle your ankle around. Circle one way, then circle the other way. And then relax your foot. Gently shake your leg. Right, and then bring that foot down. And we'll bring the other knee in. And again, you can hold over the shin or behind the thigh. Softening here as you allow the thigh to drop towards your body without pulling. Just holding the hands here to support that position, not to force yourself deeper. And then again, we'll bend and straighten the legs so you can hold on or not, as is comfortable for you. And you're just going until you feel a gentle stretch in the back of the leg, in the hamstrings, and then releasing. One more, and then next time when your leg is stretched up toward the ceiling, you hold it there, and you can circle your ankle. Circling one way, circling the other way. And then relax your ankle, give your leg a little shake. And then bring that foot down. So now let's extend the first leg that you were stretching. And then extend that same arm. Reach out with your foot, reach out with your fingertips. Roll long, take a couple of breaths here. Imagine you could breathe all of your breath into that long side. Good. And then bring the knee in, hug once more. And we'll switch sides. So leg stretching straight out. The arm can, again, whatever position is comfortable for you. So straight overhead, a little more to the side. And you're going to reach from fingertips to your heel and breathe. Imagine you can fill that whole long side of your body with your breath. Feeling that expansion with your inhale, softening as you exhale. And then we'll bring the knee in, give it a little squeeze, and release. Well, let's bring both knees now up towards the body. You can place one hand on each knee. And we'll raise both legs toward the ceiling. You can keep your hands on your knees or reach behind. Or if you want a little more expansion, reaching the arms overhead or out to the sides. So you'll go from this position to a contracted, squeezed in position, and then expanding. If you want more stretch, flex your feet toward your face as you lift your legs, and then relax your feet as you bend your knees. Breathing in as you extend, breathing out, contracting. And then letting the feet come down to the ground. Stretching the arms up, palms facing each other. Reach the fingertips toward the ceiling. Feel your shoulder blades lift. And then let your shoulder blades sink down. Bend your elbows, take your hands to opposite elbows. And then we'll gently move the elbows and the head to one side in one direction. And then back to the center and over to the other side. So you go side to side like that. Move slowly. Just let the breath be natural, normal, whatever happens. Creating some space in the back of the body. Great. And then let's come back to the center, taking the arms out about shoulder height to the sides, And then bend your elbows a little bit. You want to make sure the backs of your hands are on the ground. And if you want a little more stretch across the chest, raising the arms up, as long as your elbows in the back of your hands are on the ground. So you can find the stretch that feels comfortable for you. And we'll take a few breaths here. Feeling expansion in the front of the body now. And if you like and it feels good to you, you can gently roll your head here side to side. Taking the head to one side, maybe you can pause for a moment to that side. Come back to the center. To the other side, maybe pause. Side to side a couple more times, tuning into physical sensations in your body as you do the movement. What do you notice? What shifts as your head goes to the side? You feel any stretch in the neck, the shoulders, the arms? Is it comfortable? Do you need to adjust to be more comfortable? And then come back to the center with your head. We'll lower the arms down a little bit, and then we're going to lift them up, cross them over your chest, and bring your hands to opposite shoulders. Give yourself a little hug. Take a few breaths. See if you can feel expansion in the back of your body, in between the shoulder blade area. And then we'll open the arms out to the sides again. Take a breath in. And then exhaling, cross the arms the other way over your body, hands to your shoulders or wherever they reach. And again, a few breaths here, opening into the back space of your shoulders. Great, and then releasing, let the arms come down. And we'll lay the arms down on the ground. If it's comfortable, palms face up. If not, just whatever works for you. And then extend your legs. If you're more comfortable with bent knees, that's also fine. And we'll take a moment to simply tune in again. So feel your breath, feel your body. Notice any sensations and movements with the breath. Any sensations in your body. And then when you're ready, we'll bend the knees. Bring the feet back to the floor. You can leave the arms relaxed on the ground. Have your heels more or less underneath your knees, or perhaps a little further away, if that's better for your knees. Press down into your feet until you feel a deep pressing into the lower back, into the ground. It doesn't have to be intensive, but you feel that your back flattens a little bit into the ground. And then relax. So let the back come to its natural position. And then press down into your feet till the lower back flattens, that contracted position, and then relax and let the back come to its own natural position. So let's add the breath in here. Exhale, press down. Inhale, expand and relax. Exhale, naturally the body contracts to press the air out with your exhale. It happens without you having to do anything. And then inhale, expand. Exhale, press down. And then this time we're going to press further into the feet and start to lift the hips off the ground. Take your time to slowly lift. If it feels uncomfortable, lower back down or don't go as high in general. And then we'll release back down to the ground. Once again, press into the feet and slowly lift up. So it can take you several breaths to lift if you like. And then slowly lower back down. Again, tuning into that expansiveness of the inhale, lifting the body and opening the front of the body. And then as you exhale, that relaxing phase of the breath sinks you down and everything draws naturally into the center with your exhale. Let's try that one more time. This time, if you like, you can stay up in bridge pose. If it feels like too much effort or is uncomfortable in any way at all, you'll come down whenever you need to. And if you're staying in the pose, think about your shoulders and knees moving a little further apart. So you're not trying to lift as high as you possibly can, but find length through the front of your body. And then let's slowly lower down. And when your hips come to the ground, you can bring both knees to your chest. And holding the knees in any way that's comfortable. A little side-to-side movement or circling the knees around. Giving a little massage to the low back, the back of the hips. And then coming back to the center, let your feet release back to the earth. And roll over onto your side. Use your opposite hand against the ground to support you. And we'll come upright. So we'll sit for just a couple of minutes. So if you want to sit on a blanket or a cushion or a chair or a block or whatever is comfortable for you, the edge of a bed or a couch. So it doesn't matter how you're sitting, just that you're upright. So we can do just a little bit more release before we move into more intensive practices. So starting here now, the spine is free, right? When we're on the ground, the spine is a little bit limited. So let's practice that cat-cow movement of expansion forward with your inhale and rounding, that natural contraction with your exhale. The pelvis kind of rocks in conjunction with the movement of the spine. And then coming back to a neutral spine, let's do a few little circles with the torso. And I really encourage you to tune in here and notice whatever sensations in your physical body you're aware of. As your weight shifts and the body moves, what do you notice? Shift and go the other direction. Okay, and then come back to the center. And we'll bring the palms together now, pressing the palms gently into one another until you feel a gentle stretch in the wrists and forearms. And then we'll interlace the fingers and do some movement here, circling the wrists, or you can make a little wave movement. So just moving, circling. Even stretch out the palms by pressing them away from you. Back in, and again, whatever movement feels good to your wrists. And then we'll release the hands and do some circles for the wrists. And give them a shake. And then one palm facing up, take the other hand and gently pull back on the fingers. And then take that same hand and reach it straight out and draw back towards your face. And then other side, palm up, pressing gently down on the fingers. And then straight arm palm forward, drawing back on shoulders. Great. Release, and again, a little shake. And then we'll take the backs of the hands together. Gentle pressure here. You can curl your fingers towards making a fist. And then release. And curl in. Release. And one more. Good. And again, a little shake. A few more circles, this time with your hands in gentle fists. A few in each direction. And again, give them a little shake. So we'll come over onto all fours now. Please do whatever you need to be comfortable. If you need to pad under your knees or bring roll up your mat to put a little padding under your wrists, you can do that. So in all fours, you want to start with your hands directly underneath your shoulders, knees underneath the hips. And we'll start again with that spinal movement. So flexion and extension of the spine, most common movements we do. So inhaling, a little arch, exhaling and rounding. Feeling that expansion. As you inhale, the drawing in towards the center as you exhale. Everything has an ebb and a flow. And when we can honor that natural movement of life, we find our way back to balance. So let's come to a flat back now, not extended, not flexed. And from this place, stretching one leg straight back behind you. Now it's not lifting way up, you're keeping it about parallel to the ground, in line with your spine. Could be a bit lower, that's fine. Take a breath in now and gently lift the chest. Maybe think about lifting the leg just an inch or so, and then round and bring your knee in as close to your nose as you can. And then stretch out, breathing in and contracting as you exhale. Holding the knee in for a breath or two, and then release. If you need a break at any time for your wrists, please just move off your wrists, come onto your forearms, or do some circles as you need to. Stretching the other leg straight out, flat spine, more or less. The spine is not flat, it has natural curves, but we're not looking for any exaggeration of those curves. And then a little lift, breathing in, and then exhale, squeezing in. Inhale, stretching out. Remember, the breath coordination is always optional. You can always do the movement at whatever pace is comfortable and breathe normally. Holding the knee in now. Stay for a couple of breaths. And then releasing your knee. We'll come down onto forearms. You can stay there if you like, or move your hips back towards your heels, coming to child's pose. Maybe allow the wrists to do a little movement here to release after being on them. And as you breathe here, see if you can feel some maybe expansion or extension in the back of your body as you breathe. Softening with your exhale. Right, so last week we were looking at the Cobra pose, and we're going to go there again today as a review. So we'll start by coming up onto all fours. You want to make sure you've got enough room in front of you so that if you're on a mat, that your face ends up on your mat. And from here, if you take the heel of your hand to where roughly your fingertips were, so you're moving about a handprint forward, and you can always check to the distance here. As we move the hips forward and bring the weight over the arms, shoulders line up over the wrists. If they're way ahead or way back, you'll want to shift your weight back, adjust your hands, and then come back into that kneeling plank position. From there, bend your elbows, let your body roll to the ground from your thighs down to your forehead. And then let your hands slide forward, and that's going to just take all the weight off of your wrists. So elbows are on the ground, forehead on the ground, elbows tucked into your sides. And we're going to work a little bit with traction for the spine here. It's very soft, very gentle. So we worked on last week pressing down into the hips. You can gently engage your legs, press down into the hips, the thighs, the feet. If your toes start to cramp, you can always tuck them under. And then imagine you're trying to pull the mat back towards your hips without actually moving. Keep the hips pressed down into the ground and keep that pulling back feeling with your arms as you lift and as you lower. So you're lifting chest and head, pulling back with the arms, and then lowering chest and head, continuing to pull back with the arms. Inhale up if you're coordinating breath. Exhale forward. Make one more this time if you like. You can stay here in this pose. When you're staying, you might even want to just bring your elbows a little bit forward so that your elbows and shoulders are lined up. Keep pressing down with your thighs. And that's going to help to protect your lower back. So if you relax your legs and your butt and your thighs, then there's often a jamming sensation in the lower back. So if you feel jamming in your back, try pressing down a little more through your legs, even lifting your belly button a little bit so we're uncurling the lower back a little bit. So it's an active pose. It's not just hanging out here. When you're ready, walk the hands back, bring your head down. And you want to then walk the hands back a little more so your palms are on the ground, elbows are up, and you can lift yourself right back up to all fours. And again, lining up your shoulders under your wrists, the knees underneath your hips. And inhale, arch. Exhale, round. If you like, you can go to child's pose on the exhale. Back to all fours on your inhale. So we're going to try the tricky move that we did a couple of weeks ago, stepping forward from downward dog. If you know that that isn't going to work for you, you can just from here take one foot forward and we'll lift the back knee. If you're feeling a little bit more confident, if you have blocks, you can use them under your hands if that's helpful. Right, so if you feel confident for at least coming into downward dog, you can tuck your toes under, lift the hips up. Press into the hands, move your hips back, let your head relax between your arms. Maybe walk your feet in place a couple of times. And then lower down. You can take the weight off your wrist if you need to, do a few circles. So this next time we'll step forward. So again, if you know that going from downward dog isn't an option for you, you'll just step forward from kneeling. And if you're ready, from downward dog, you'll lift into downward dog. And we're swinging the leg back. Exhale, push off your back foot and swing the foot as far forward as you can. Take your back foot and turn it out so that your whole foot is on the ground. You can step it a bit forward if you like. And then we'll come upright. Taking the arms up, coming up to warrior one. So I can't see you all, so I don't know if you're with me. I'll give you a second all to get here. And then we'll bring the hands forward, either to the knee or to your blocks or the ground. Let your head release. And then lifting up so we can breathe into this expanded warrior. And then exhale, releasing forward into the forward bend. If you want a bit more stretch, and we've done a bit of warm up already for the hamstrings, you can move that front leg a little straighter as you go forward and bend it as you lift. So this time we'll stay forward. Again, you can bring your hands to your knees if you haven't got blocks. If you have a chair handy, you can put your hands on the chair or blocks or the ground. And then here, just playing around with how much bend and how much straightening of that front leg feels good. So bend and straighten a few times. If there's a sweet spot where you can hang out for a few breaths and enjoy the stretch, then stay there, let your head release. Breathing. Right, now you have a choice. You can step back to downward dog. We're going to be switching feet. So stepping back to downward dog and switching is going to be more challenging. Or you can step forward. So both feet are together at the front of the mat and then step back with the other foot. So either way, either you step back to downward dog and then come forward with the other foot, or step back with the other foot from standing forward bend. And when you're there with the other foot forward, we'll repeat that same sequence. So lifting into expansion, inhaling, exhaling forward any amount. Repeating that a few more times. And again, coming forward, playing around with how much bend, how much straightening in that forward leg. Maybe finding a sweet spot where you can hang out for a few breaths and let your head release. Again, you don't want to force the stretch, so if it feels like too much for you, back off, maybe come up a little bit and find a place where you can be and feel the stretch and enjoy the stretch without feeling like you are forcing or pushing yourself beyond a reasonable limit. When you're ready, let's step forward this time. We'll take the hands to the shins or the knees, little bend in your knees, find a little lift in your chest, breathing in. Elbows come to the thighs, come forward. Take a few breaths here. Inhaling, coming all the way up. Exhaling to release. So now we're standing in mountain pose. Feet about hip distance apart. Toes and heels parallel to one another. Sink into your heels a little bit and feel your legs like roots going down into the earth. Roots are strong, contracted, and they go down to the earth to hold us, support us. And then see if you can feel a lightness, a lifting, an openness in the upper body, expansive. Heels sink down, heart lifts up. And then give your body a little shake. Just let go of any tension that you might have brought into your body here or maybe carrying with you. Let's take the feet apart a little ways. We'll do some rotations for the shoulders, one shoulder, then the other shoulder. Go one direction, then switch, go the other way. Great, coming back to the center, we'll do a few hip circles. Make sure your knees are soft, hands can come to the hips, and gentle circles around. Going one way and the other. Lovely. Come back to the center, release your hands. Let's bring the feet in side by side, come back to mountain pose. And again, feel your roots go down, heart lift. And again, it's this same idea of there's always two sides, right? The down, the contraction, the up, the expansion, and everything in life is going through these cycles. So to try to resist that just creates tension. Let's bend and straighten the legs a couple of times. And then come back to mountain pose. So we're going to move into a sequence of poses that is coordinated with the breath. If you choose, that's always an option. It's called sun salutation. I think most of you, maybe all of you, are familiar with it. We're going to move slowly and really break it down. We've been breaking it down over the last few weeks. So as we put it together, we'll keep that nice, easy pace. And if something feels like too much for you, feel free to modify or skip that part of it. If you're not able to step forward, you can always crawl forward or whatever it takes, okay? So you want to be near the front of your mat, and if you're using blocks and you have them handy, you can have them near you, near your feet. So typically, sun salutation was always done as the sun was rising. Not always, but typically. And as we emerge from the dark, we celebrate the day, but we only really have that possibility to celebrate because we've been in the dark, right? So take a moment, feel your roots go down into the dark, rich earth. And from that place of darkness, emerging by lifting the arms, breathing in and lifting the heart. And then we go back inward, exhaling, coming forward. So every movement takes us from one extreme to the other. Head down here and take a breath or two. And then hands to either the shins or the knees, come halfway up and breathe in. Feel your heart lift. And then exhale back into that quiet, dark place. And then we'll bring the hands down to the ground or your blocks, whatever is available to you, and step your right foot back. So you can step back any amount. The less you step back, generally the easier it is. Pause here and lunge. And then we're going to move to downward dog. So you can step the other foot back. Coming into dog pose, and then we'll take the knees down to the ground. Coming back to cow pose, all these animals, lifting the head, lifting the tail. Nice expansion in the heart, and then rounding and moving back to child's pose. Into that contracted little ball. Take a couple of breaths here. Great. Come back up to all fours. Here's where you might want to use blocks. If you have them handy, you can bring them under your hands. Remember, the other option is just to lift up and maybe take a leg forward rather than coming forward from downward dog, or whatever works for you. If you're coming to downward dog, lift up. You can swing your right leg back as you exhale. leap forward with that leg. Do the best you can. Let go of whatever happens. Great. Pause here and lunge for a moment. And then we'll step forward with the other foot. Head down for a moment in that forward bend. And then inhale, lengthening. Hands to shins or knees. Exhale, slide and fold forward. Take a breath here. And then, like we were greeting a new day, opening up to the sun, lifting up. And exhaling to release. So when you get back to the beginning, back to where you started, pause there and just take a moment to notice. Maybe your breath is a little heavier now. Your heartbeat might be a little bit more. Maybe you feel this slight beginning of warmth. Maybe you feel something completely different from what I suggest. So notice what's present for you. So we'll go through the sun salutation one more time. This time we'll be stepping back with the left foot and we'll come into the cobra position that we did earlier and that we reviewed last week as well. So if you're using blocks, you may want to just move them a little bit out of the way. For now, you can always bring them back in for stepping forward later, but they're probably going to be in your way for cobra. So again, back to mountain pose, heels sink down, heart lifting. Inhale, raising up your arms. Exhale, bend your knees, come forward. Take a breath here. Lifting halfway, hands to shins. Inhaling and then exhaling forward again. And this time we'll take the left foot, stepping back to lunge. Pause here. And then we'll come back with the other foot to downward dog. From downward dog, we'll lower the knees. And then just as we did earlier, you want your hands a little bit ahead of your shoulders. As you bring your weight forward into a flat line from knees to shoulders, kneeling plank, wrists are underneath the shoulders, bend your elbows and make your way down to the earth. Slide your arms forward so your elbows are on the ground. Hands on either side of your face, elbows tucked into your sides. Place the forehead down. And again, gently engage the lower body. Engage your buttocks. Press down into your hips, down into your thighs. You can even squeeze the thighs a bit. If it's comfortable, press even the tops of your feet down, or you can tuck your toes and press down with your toes. And then pulling back with the arms. Without actually moving, you're just creating some length and traction. Inhale and lift. You can hold here for a breath or two. Check in with your neck. If you're cranking your head back, it's going to strain your neck. Just look forward or down. One more breath. Lift a little more if possible, and then exhale. Slowly release to the ground. Slide your hands back so your elbows lift. Press into your hands to lift up to all fours. And then you can walk your hands back to come to child's pose. Taking a couple of breaths in child's pose. And then back up to all fours. Again, we're going to be stepping forward from downward dog or however you want to get there. So if you want your blocks, you can get your blocks. If you want to just step forward from kneeling, feel free. If you're ready for downward dog, you can lift up. You'll take the left leg, reach back. As you exhale, lift that leg right up and forward. I know that's tricky, so do your best. And then coming into lunge, we'll step forward with the other foot. Release the head. And then halfway up, hands to shins, lengthening. Exhale, release to fold forward. Inhale, make sure you bend your knees as you lift to protect your low back. Exhale, arms down. So again, back to mountain pose. Tune in, notice what you feel physically with the breath, your mind, emotions. Just take a snapshot of the whole package. Okay. Let your weight sink into your heels. Feel your thighs engage. Feel that sturdiness of mountain pose, that going down with your roots, up with your upper body. Good. And then again, let's bend and straighten the knees a couple of times. And then give a little shake. Just let go of all of the effort of the sun salutations. They can be a little bit tricky, and especially that stepping forward move. So just let that go. We're done with that for now, or for today. And then we're going to make our way back down to the mat to lie down. So take your time. So come to lie down. And when you get there, let the hands rest on your body or on the ground. And just take a few breaths to let your body settle here. There's no need to control your breath in any way, but you may be interested in observing that feeling of expansion on your inhale. And drawing in and down into the earth as you exhale. Now, if it feels comfortable for you, you might try creating a little bit of a evenness in the breath, which means you're inhaling for about the same amount of time as you're exhaling. So you can count how long it normally takes you to inhale, 2, 3, 4 seconds generally. And then see if you can make your exhale about the same length, if that feels comfortable. Creating equal inhale and exhale. If it feels like you're straining at all, just go back to normal breathing. Relax your face, your neck, and jaw as you breathe. Relax across your collarbones to your shoulders and all around the chest and belly. A few more breaths like that. And then letting go of the equal breath and just coming back to a normal, natural breath. Take the arms out to the sides, just a little bit away from your body. And we'll move into a gentle twist now. So you'll inhale in the center, exhale, and let the knees go to one side. Inhale back to center, knees go the other way. Honor your body. If your body wants to twist less, only take the knees partway down. Inhale center, exhale to the side. You can roll your head the opposite way of your knees if you like, to get a little more twist through the upper spine. But if that's not comfortable, just leave your head centered. Keep your neck happy. Do one or two more. And then when you're ready, come back to the center. And with your knees pointing at the ceiling, you're just going to give a little massage to the sacrum, the back of the hips. And you're just rocking the knees a few inches one way, a few inches the other. Just enough to feel your weight shift from one side of your sacrum to the other. Sacrum is the back of the hips. It's sort of a flatter area. For some people, doing this movement can feel like too much pressure on the sacrum, so you're going to have to just really determine for yourself if it feels good. If it doesn't feel so good, you might bring your knees into your chest, which we're going to do in a moment. So let's come back to center. And then as you bring your knees into your chest, you'll notice that the weight shifts further up your back a little bit. So now that gentle rocking just a few inches each way, massaging the back of the waist and wherever else you happen to feel it. We're all built a little different, so it's going to feel a little bit different for everybody. And then we can combine those two by starting with the knees in and circling around. So knees go away and circle and come back in. So we're massaging the low back and the back of the hips, the sacral area with this movement. And again, it may feel a little different for you, precisely how far your knees come into your chest, how long your arms are, the shape of your sacrum, all of that. So really make it your own. If something else here feels better to you, you can try that. If you haven't switched directions and you're circling, try going the other way. Right, and then eventually come back to the center. You can give the knees a good squeeze as long as that's comfortable for you. Feeling the contraction of being in this tight little ball, and then find space for your inhalation. So as you breathe here, where does your breath need to go to find space? So I can feel pressure into the sides and the back of my body, as well as the upper chest as I'm breathing here. When you feel ready, releasing the legs. After being squeezed in that tight little contracted space, you might appreciate stretching the legs out and expanding the front of the body by raising the arms overhead or out to your sides. Taking a long, easy stretch here. You can reach one arm and leg away from each other, growing that side longer, and then the other side a little longer. And then both sides stretching out. And then slowly release. Relax your arms down to your sides. And we'll move from here into Shavasana. So if you want to stay exactly where you are with legs straight, great. If you want to bend your knees or prop your legs in some way, you can do that. If you want to cover with a blanket or maybe even come to sit, just take a moment to get yourself settled. Feel comfortable. Make sure you're warm enough. Really important when you are trying to relax that you're not creating tension by being cold. So take the time you need to adjust, to make sure that you're comfortable. And then once you find that comfortable place to be, Let your body soften and sink down. So focus a little more attention on the exhale now. The exhale is where we draw in, we go into ourselves, we let go, we release. The inhale will happen naturally. You don't need to do much to allow that to happen. It just happens on its own. Let the exhale be full. Feel that sense of dropping in with your exhale, dropping down. As you exhale, soften your jaw, soften the muscles of your face. Relax your shoulders, your neck, your arms and hands. Relax your rib cage, all the organs and muscles associated with your rib cage. Relax your belly, your lower back, and feel your hips sink down. Let the weight drop into your sacrum now, at the back of your hips. Let go of any tension in your thighs and soften your knees, your kneecaps relax. As you exhale, let your calves, shins, ankles, and feet release any amount that's available to you. Continue to notice where you may be holding tension and continue to soften and let go with each exhalation. I'll share with you the chant that I've been working with for the last few weeks. It talks about the body, the breath, the mind, and the emotions, the themes that we've been looking at for the last few weeks. And how when we find our balance in those areas, when we tune in and we really accept and embrace the light and the dark, the expansion and the contraction, we find a natural balance. We connect more deeply with ourselves, with each other, and with spirit. Continuing to soften as you listen to the chant, allowing the inhale and exhale to move through you with no effort. Annamaya me shuddhantam jyotiraham viraja vipapma bhuya sagga svaha. Pranamaya me shuddhantam jyotiraham viraja vipapma bhuya sagga svaha. Manomaya me shuddhantam jyotiraham Tiraham Viraja Vipama Bhuya Sagga Swaha Om Vijnanamaya Me Shuddhantam Jyotiraham Viraja Vipama Bhuya Sagga Swaha Om. If your breath has wandered away, bring it back. If your mind has wandered away, bring it back to the breath. And let your inhale be your focus now. Feel that gentle expansion. You don't have to inhale in any particular way or even any deeper than normal, but just tune into that expansive feeling of the inhale, creating space. The inhale also helps to gently energize the body, bringing oxygen in. When we hold our breath or limit the breathing in some way, we often lose some of our vital energy, our vitality. So letting the breath be full and complete without forcing or straining. And then gradually add movements. You can start with your extremities, fingers, toes, ankles, wrists. And gradually, as you start to wake up the energy in your limbs, start to move your body, stretch in any way that would feel good. And then if you're ready to come upright, you can roll onto your side again. Use your opposite hand to help ground you and support you, lifting upright. You can come back to a seated position. And wherever you're at, bring your hands together at your heart. Take a moment in gratitude for yourself, for showing up today, for doing the practice, for engaging in self-care, self-love. And I encourage you as you go through your week to notice, where are you resisting? And can you open yourself up to that resistance, to whatever is on the other side of that? And find balance through opening yourself to whatever is in each moment. Namaste.